Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, the former executive director of the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange, Heather Korbulic, is here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. You have a great hotel here. Mike Pegerman's invested a ton of money into this place to make it just gorgeous. Tell people what they can expect when they come down and stay.
A real quality experience, Sam, and the rooms, you've stayed in them, they're good size, very well appointed, clean, and for about $65 Sunday through Thursday right now through the winter. After you're done with your meetings, you take a nice, beautiful scenic drive and come stay in a very nice, beautiful room. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, at least for one more day, because we're recording this on December the 1st. Heather Korbulic is here, and she's Executive Director of the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange. As of tomorrow, you become Citizen Korbulic.
That's correct. Very excited.
Pleasure to have you back here on the program.
Thank you.
Why are you leaving?
You know, I have thought a lot over the last 21 months of the pandemic about kind of how stable things have become at the exchange despite a pandemic. You know, we weathered a pretty intense storm over the last 4 years with a full-on attack on the Affordable Care Act and transitioning from healthcare.gov to our own platform. And so I feel like we're in the most stable place that we've ever been. This open enrollment, our technology worked flawlessly. We're just having, you know, great enrollment. We're having a great clip of people enrolling. So I feel like we're in a wonderful place, a real stable place. And it's time for someone else to come on in with new, fresh ideas and innovate.
All right, so what's gnawing away at you that you're thinking you might want to do?
Well, I'm going to take some time off, I think, to sleep, I'm hoping. It's been a long pandemic. You know, I've had lots of different assignments, and I think I really need some downtime to process the last few years, I guess, at this point. And then I'm going to head off into the private sector and see what that looks like and how I can help the world from there.
Okay, and any particular area that you're interested in, that a path you might want to go down?
You know, I want to stay in health policy. I really enjoy this work. I've become a policy wonk and really enjoy kind of understanding how technology and health meet. So that's where I hope to stay.
Obviously, not only a fascinating field, but one that is going to continue to grow, because as medical science gets better and better, we're living longer and longer, and so things are going to continue to grow for all of us, thankfully, and fingers crossed. How do I put this? The possibilities are just really endless, and when you look at the technologies that are being developed today and over the next, say, 25 years, we can't even see, you know, it kind of cracks me up when people say, well, in 100 years this is going to happen. And I think to myself, you know, I don't know what the next iPhone is going to produce.
Right.
So what do you think, where do you think we're going to be in like the next 5 years, 10 years, technology-wise?
I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball that could tell us, but I think where my interest lies is more in government and the way that government uses technology. So I think about the fractured system that I've taken a look at over the last, 2 years. We go to the Department of Employment, Training and Rehabilitation, and we're asking for information from people, and they fill out a form, and then they go over to the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services to get enrolled in Medicaid or SNAP, and we're asking for the same information, and we have these fractured systems that are really, asking for the same things, and there's such opportunity to combine those to make a better user experience, to make data more powerful, and to kind of eliminate the manual efforts and automate decision making rather than requiring a human touch on every single one.
What do you think has taken us so long? Because, I mean, real form, the computer industry has been with the general public and with regular businesses, not big businesses because they had it earlier, but at least 30 years now.
Right.
And yet you still can go to a doctor's office and have to fill out 4 sheets of paperwork and multiple questions that are duplicated, what's your date of birth and all this other stuff. It's not, some doctor's offices have iPads, but most of them don't. Why do you think it's taking so long for us to get even the most basic stuff done, let alone interdepartmental communication?
I think when you look at it from a government perspective, a government lens, and maybe as the system as a whole, healthcare systems as a whole, it's those, you have to fill out the same form every time you go to the doctor by hand. That's a symptom of a fractured healthcare system. And in the state, I mean, we get a new program, new funding from the feds to start Medicaid. And then you build technology around that, and it quickly becomes antiquated. And so you have to kind of keep up with that and with technology. And meanwhile, you're getting another new program in unemployment division, and you're building a separate program. And so I think it comes down to, first of all, from a federal level down, the top down, you have to think about how these things all mesh together and how you can support states in entwining those systems. But then, we have a legislature that really needs to invest in, rather than Band-Aid fixes for programs, we need to invest in technology and keep ourselves proactively ahead of the curve rather than always being behind trying to catch up.
So one of the things that a lot of business people will say come election time is we want government to run more like a business. And the reality is, no, it's never going to run like a business because it's not a business. But on the other hand, businesses do invest in technology, and that's how they're able to move ahead. In Nevada, I guess in particular, I've lived here a long time, we like our low taxes. We're loath to spend money if we don't have to. The legislature, even under Democrats, has been relatively conservative in expenditures. Don't we need to have a complete change of mindset? And maybe it has to be a Republican or a group of Republicans that leads the charge and says, no, what we're doing is actually costing us money, because isn't it?
I think that you're right. I'm not sure that I would agree with whether it needs to be one party or another.
Well, the only reason I say that is that it took Nixon to open up China. The party that was most against the Chinese was actually the one that went and made peace and opened things up. So sometimes maybe the people who tend to be the most in opposition of spending money or whatever it might be, and you can put any name on it you want, But that's my point, is to get a group of people that would normally be against spending money, but will finally come together and say, hey, you know what, enough is enough. I mean, let's use Dieter as the example. I mean, we found out big time, and we'll get into more about this later, but that Dieter was so far behind the curve in terms of technology that when the pandemic hit and unemployment was necessary for people to survive, it failed, and it failed miserably.
I think what you're talking about is fresh eyes, right? So coming at a problem from a different perspective than this is how we've always done it, this is a myopic approach. I think where government and any kind of politician and any kind of leader in state government or in the federal government really could probably reset things is always looking towards the North Star of who you're serving and thinking about people as customers, as businesses do, right? And so if your goal is to make a customer experience as seamless as possible, then you invest in technology that will make it so. If you are in a position like the Exchange, we're a solely self-funded organization. We have to make our own money in order to support our own operations. And that really kind of has given us not only flexibility, but it gives us a lot of autonomy. So when you have a program like Medicaid or others, they're funded by the federal government and have a lot of rules associated with them. And so does, the Exchange. And you can have flexibility within those, but you just really have to have more of an open mindset that I'm going to do right by my customer and I'm going to do whatever I can within these rules to make that possible.
Yeah, and it's kind of insane that the system doesn't work that way to begin with, because if the top of the tree are politicians and on the other side the people who elected them, you would think that their first thought would be, let's take care of the customer first, and in fact, invariably, that's the last thing that occurs.
State budgets are complicated things, and I think when you start getting into the nitty-gritty of it, it can get really sidetracked into, well, why would you spend money on X, Y, and Z? And I think if you bring it back to, does this serve a customer, or does this serve Nevada, and think about it from that approach, you can make really good policy decisions.
It's kind of ironic that state government, and federal government for that matter, I mean, let's not leave them out of it, we have more power as an individual in our phone than most of these agencies do in terms of computing power.
Yeah, I mean, we've set up systems that quickly become antiquated, and we have, work to do to modernize them.
And it's got to be every couple of years. It's like when the new phones come out, if you don't have a new phone within a certain period of time, whoever supplies your phone is going to tell you within 5 years, we're not going to be servicing that phone anymore. So if something goes wrong with it, or you're not going to be able to get programs for it. But government doesn't tend to operate that until something disastrous happens. We really have to change that mindset.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be less expensive?
I think it depends. It's really expensive to have and to house software engineers and developers internally. It's also really hard to do with the wages compared to the private sector. And so, I think there's a balancing act between working with a private vendor to do this work versus having the employees in-house managing it. So that's kind of, there's not a lot of competition in terms of being able to pay people what they're worth.
That's true, but then there should be a coming together of private industry and government to make it so that it is affordable, because private businesses can't make money if they don't have customers.
Right.
Okay, what are your concerns about cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity. Well, I mean, I can think of pretty much the biggest and most complicated thing that I worry about at the Exchange is a breach, right? We have access to IRS data. And that is one of the most complicated things to get access to in terms of setting up system security. So working with and auditing yourself and having an outside auditor at all times checking and poking and trying to breach gives you some sense of safety. I think just at a much higher level outside of government, I personally worry about every single thing that is on my phone. Anything that someone sends me, I'm concerned about what that means. I mean, that's a permanent record of what my activities look like. And so, there is nothing that's private anymore, I guess we can say.
Right. I mean, the thought of privacy, which everybody cherishes, not only is it gone, but we actually gave it up ourselves by going on Amazon or going on Google and all these other companies that are able to mine this data. I mean,
I'm just as guilty as anybody else is just quickly checking a box. So I agree, and not reading the material and not really recognizing what they're going to do with my data. I mean, I'm also guilty of being on Instagram and purchasing something that has been targeted to me because they know what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned, and I posted this on social media, that LinkedIn sent me some job reviews the other day for me to go after, and one of them was to be a hostess at Red Robin. Maybe I need to correct my information on there. Let's take a break. We'll be back with Heather Korbulic after this timeout. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CB steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Heather Korbulic. She's about to become a private citizen here after running the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange. I did want to talk to you about what happened at Dieter, and I'll preface this by saying that I talked to Secretary of State Barbara Sagaski not too long ago, and I thanked her for sticking with it when she continues to go through absolute hell as Secretary of State. She is the most Republican, as conservative as can be, and yet has been the Secretary of State for all the people of Nevada, and has been nonpartisan in that role, and has taken not only all this heat, but she too has had personal threats and threats to her family, in fact to the point where she would rather not come on the program to talk about it because she doesn't want to aggravate the situation anymore. Did you ever think when the governor asked you to take over Dieter, the unemployment agency, that you would go through this kind of hell yourself?
I didn't actually ever think that that would have been the outcome, that I would have ever experienced people threatening me directly. And I think maybe that was slightly naive. I understood that I was walking into an absolute torrential downpour, that it was going to require a lot of work, and that I was going to be, very stressed out in trying to solve problems. But I did not think my personal safety would be jeopardized. And I think one misconception that those people have is that somehow I am, sitting inside the system processing claims myself, and that I can push a button and it will simply fix things. And if it was only that easy, I would have absolutely done that. And I think some people, out of frustration, maybe felt like I didn't recognize the humanity of it. And I can tell you that I spent an enormous amount of time stressed out and worried about every individual I heard about of the masses of those individuals, and how their stories were compelling, and every single story was compelling. But I didn't think for one second that I would be at risk.
What was the point where you first realized that you were actually and you and your family were actually in personal danger?
I think there was a night my husband was gone with my children. They went on a vacation I missed so I could stay and work. And I had a threat that was pretty real, and had to have an officer in front of my house overnight. And I didn't sleep all night, and all I could think about was how scared I was and how much I didn't want my children to come back. And that's when I decided that this was getting out of hand.
I can't even imagine a mother having that thought.
Yeah.
So how has this changed you? Because beyond, I mean, you stepped away from that position, and Elisa Cafarada jumped in.
Yeah. Bless her.
Yes. But how did this all change you? Because it must have.
You know, I think that there are some good and bad changes from it. The first is that I'm very hesitant to trust. And, you know, I don't know how my personal information got out. I'm sure there are lots of ways that people could have found it, you know. Certainly the assessor's office has, you know, is displaying my personal address, but my phone number, it made me feel like potentially there was some paranoia, like somebody had given my number and I didn't want to give out my new number because I just didn't know who I could trust. And that's an unfortunate consequence. I think Governor said it yesterday, that we've seen the best of people and we've seen the worst of people. And I think that I got to see the best of people working with Dieter. Those people are so committed to the work that they're doing. They take it so seriously. But then the worst of people was, you know, people getting so frustrated that they decided to threaten. But ultimately, I feel like I'm a better citizen from that experience. I feel like I totally understand, you know, complex systems in a way that helps me explain it to other people. That, you know, I'm not just, there isn't a director who's holding back your application for whatever reason. You know, he or she doesn't have access to that information. It's much more complex than that. And I hope to be able to use that to educate people.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be back with Heather Korbulic after this timeout.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your furnace breaks down today, we fix it today. Why freeze for days while your furnace is down when Nevada Heating can get the job done today and you can get warm again? For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 and we'll fix it today. That's 323-5585 or online at nevadaheating.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to canv.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, literally the last hours of Heather Korbulic as Executive Director of the Silver State Health Insurance Exchange. I remember talking to somebody who is an expert in healthcare when Obamacare got passed. And he said to me, yeah, this is taking care of a very small part of the healthcare problem, but it's so much bigger than this. What do you think to that point?
You know, I would have to positively spin that, because I would point to the data. In Nevada, when the ACA started, we had a 24% uninsured rate, one of the highest in the country. Now we're close to 10%, maybe even lower throughout the pandemic. We don't have good data on that. So I would say that is dramatic, and it's not a small, it's not a small lift. It's been impressively impactful. I think, but that I could go back to the sentiment that it doesn't fix everything, and no one problem is a silver bullet to fix everything. We have a really complicated system that is built in a way that is really hard for an individual to navigate, but then the systems themselves don't work nicely together either. So, the ACA was a really good start. It did a lot of stuff for a lot of people. The American Rescue Plan Act adds to that, and that was great. We hope the Build Back Better Act even extends that even further. But there are lots of small policy issues that need to be tackled, and it's not going to take one silver bullet.
All right, so here's the deal.
Okay.
When you land in your next position, come back and tell us all about it.
I'd be happy to.
And thank you for your service in all your various roles, including policy advisor to the governor.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States. I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Kenny! Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow! This stuff is great! People are gonna love it!
Yes. Yes, they will.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. You can do that now these days. We'll see you on the next broadcast.